Most people who were here last year, I would hope, would remember the interviews that we did with our Olympians. 2013-14 obviously not being an Olympic year, we decided to shift the focus to the major championships that were on last year, this year, pardon me, that being the World Juniors. With that, please welcome Jack Hicking of our club and his coach Zsuzsanna. We're going to start about mid last year. I think around the time you're jumping about 4.8 metres, something like that. How was it going? What was on the horizon 12 months ago?
Well, we were kind of hoping World Juniors, but I had a little bit of a rough preparation with competing off shorter run-ups, and we weren't really getting the heights that I wanted to. So it was just kind of a little bit slow progress, jumping the same height around 480, 490, and we were just really struggling to get those higher heights with the competitions. So
we then go to the State Junior Championships, and you're competing there against athletes your own age, and indeed athletes a bit older. You've traditionally been successful in the under-20s, for instance, jumping as a 17-year-old. Talk us through State Juniors and your performance there, because that was a sharp improvement.
I don't actually remember what I jumped at State Juniors, but within my squad we have a lot of the juniors which compete for New South Wales. So rather than it being a really daunting competition, it's quite relaxed because we all know each other and we see each other 6 days a week. So I'm assuming, as to what you said, that it was a little bit of an improvement to what I had been jumping. So yeah, usually we tend to try and peak a little bit more for those competitions and try and get a higher height in, but obviously we mustn't have qualified for World Juniors, which is probably a little bit of a disappointment. So then we would have to go back and look at what we were doing and what we could have improved on to try and jump a little bit higher.
You said that you know most of the athletes competing. You're also, of course, part of the New South Wales Institute of Sport Target Talent program, and that's essentially a high performance development program for those that don't know, for our aspiring junior athletes. How has that program helped you develop?
Well, it's been great. We get access to the Institute of Sport gym and a little bit of access to some medical services and things like that. So that's all run through Zsuzsanna, and it's just really good that it helps us see what elite athletes are really like, because before that I was just a junior, and within my squad we don't really have any senior athletes. So to go to the gym and see Olympians and see how hard they train, it's quite inspiring to just see them working hard.
Zsuzsanna, after Jack's performance at the State Juniors, he hadn't qualified for World Juniors, as he said. That was clearly the target at that point, sort of late last year. What were you thinking at that point?
Okay. The preparation started hard because he had a bit of back trouble, so we slowly moved back with the run-up, and I think he was on 10 steps probably, and he didn't like that approach. And then we decided to go back, I think, then one later. I'm not sure, not 100% sure how did it go, but yeah, that was like, we slowly progressed, I think. And the main goal was the National Junior Championships, of course, because that was the selection trial, so we picked for that. So we thought we had time.
You went to the Australian Juniors, and obviously, again, disappointingly, a bit of a slow start. Fell short of the qualification standard again. At this point, I'm not sure that you would have been aware that there was a Bankstown Invitational coming up, but essentially time was running out to qualify. Were you getting a bit anxious?
That actually happened the opposite way around. It was at New South Wales Juniors that we were hoping for a qualifier, but it didn't happen. And then when the Bankstown Invitational came up, it was kind of a little bit of a rush process for us, because we didn't really realise that we had another competition there, which was great to be offered another competition and have another chance to qualify. So I ended up jumping the qualifier there. I think that was about 2 or 3 weeks out, and a kid from South Australia had just jumped the qualifier, and that probably really helped push us, and then a few other of us got it. So I think going into Australian juniors, we knew that I had to jump the qualifier there, but it would also be quite tough because you had to come first or second to be able to make it onto the World Junior team. So there was 3 of us there who had qualified, and luckily enough, I ended up having quite a good day, and I jumped the qualifier again.
The Invitational itself was where you set your first qualifying stand. Essentially a first for the club as well, in that we probably hadn't hosted any high performance athletics meets before. You were one of 6 juniors that qualified for the World Junior Championships that night. That must have been pretty special to get over the bar for the first time.
Yeah, at the start of the competition, everything was going quite well. It was a nice warm night as well, and then seeing the other kids get the qualifiers, because pole vault's usually a little bit dragged out, that I might start jumping an hour into after the competition starts. So I think Reese, the javelin thrower, and a distance runner both ran their qualifiers before I was jumping those high heights. But I also walked over to Zsuzsanna that night, and I just said, I think I'm ready to, I felt good, and I said, I think I'm ready, and I think I can do this tonight. So looking back, it seems quite weird that Zsuzsanna probably believed in me and knew that I could do it, and if the conditions were right, we had the heights there. But for me to believe in myself, and it was at my home track, which really kind of pushed me, because I competed there as a little athlete, and to go back, which I don't get a chance to do all that often because a lot of the competitions are held at SOPAC. So it was really nice to get it at the Bankstown track.
Yeah, and just a bit of addition to this, you said hard because we were talking, you had to jump the qualifier at the junior, but if you didn't do that, might be needed on the forward on the invitational meet, so we finally said, well, you said, yeah, we need it. So it was good, we had a forward on that day.
You mentioned earlier Zuz's belief in you and the confidence that gave you. I think most people in the club wouldn't know much about you, so if you bear with me for 30 seconds and forgive me for reading, you'll see why in just a sec. In terms of your qualifications, you actually held a bachelor's degree in coaching. You coached the Korean national pole vault team. You were an Athletics Australia and New South Wales Institute of Sport target talent coach. On the back of what I think everyone will agree is a rather impressive career. As an athlete, you competed at the Sydney Olympics. You became the World Masters champion in Sydney in 2009. 8-time indoor and outdoor Hungarian national champion. 26 times the Hungarian record holder. 14 times the National Youth Championships medalist in high jump, long jump, 100-metre hurdle, shot put and heptathlon. Medalled at multiple IAAF Grand Prix events, won a silver medal at the World Indoor Championships in Japan.
Sorry, bronze medal.
Bronze, sorry. In 1991, and set the European indoor record of 4.51 metres in the same year in your home country of Hungary. So I was also thinking you can do it, really wouldn't have meant much. You make the World Junior spot, and you're on a plane to Eugene, Oregon, Hayward Field, which is probably regarded as one of the best athletics venues in the world. You're jumping on a plane at Sydney. This is essentially your first meet going away with a national team. It's an aeroplane, it's overseas. It's a pretty big difference to going to Melbourne for nationals. How'd you go?
Well, we headed to Vancouver before we went to Portland and to Eugene. So I didn't have the best preparation in Vancouver. Once again, Zsuzsanna knows what I'm going to do before I do it. So I didn't jump very well at many of the pre-departure meets in Vancouver. So I was a little bit disappointed over there, but I had a long conversation with Zsuzsanna after one of those competitions, and she said, you don't want to be the champion of pre-departure meets, you want to do your best at World Juniors. So it was kind of taking my focus on all the negatives that I had over there and just solely trying to focus on that one competition, which involved the qualification round and the final, which obviously we weren't sure if we were going to make it first, but that was our ultimate goal, to make the final.
And what was the atmosphere like? You know, you're in a team camp with a lot of young people that it's their first major international meet. How was it like just being in the camp and being in that sort of environment?
It was really, really good. We stayed at universities rather than hotels, so there was other people kind of around our age, and although we were limited to staying on the uni, they well, colleges and stuff like that over there, but they're really big, and we were given the opportunity to explore. We had curfews and stuff to be back by, but we were all like-minded people. We trained together a lot of the time, so the amount of friends that I've made just by going on that trip that I'm still in contact with has been really positive, because they're going to be people that I hope to see in the future on the senior team. So I think it was a really, really good starting. It's a good starting trip because it's so similar to our culture, and just being in a junior team rather than going straight into a senior team, I think helped, because they kind of held our hand a little bit more. Is how they put it, that rather than saying you can do whatever you want, they were like, think about what you do before you do it and make sure you stay within these guidelines. So it was really, really positive.
Solid de facto parenting by the sounds of it. Going into the qualification rounds, obviously Jack says you generally know what's going to happen before he does it. What did you think he could do?
We thought that at the qualification he needed to jump close to his PB and then start from there in the final. But we had to build up everything. So for the forward, it's pretty difficult because you have to choose the right forward, right grip on the forward, right upright stance. So it's pretty hard to set everything, and that's why the departure comps didn't went really well, because we were working on the present form, which ball, how to warm up, which ball for short enough, longer enough, and we went through on all of these things, and then we had a plan, and that was it. What Jack needs, because he likes to know what's gonna happen. So he had the plan, and we just went through on it.
So you qualified for the final, which I think at that point was a win in and of itself. Obviously the final's not on the same day. I think you had 1 or 2 days in between.
Yeah, I had 1 day rest.
And what's going through your head in that day? Is it amazingly satisfied that I've made a World Juniors final? Is it more determined to see how we can go from there? What's your mindset at that point, having made the final?
It was kind of weird, because with a lot of I competed towards the end of the championship, so a lot of the people who had already competed had the opportunity to go to the track, and there was only a small number of us that had to stay back in our rooms. We had a common area, so we were all just sitting down watching the other events take place. And I know there was a women's pole vault on the night before my event, or there might have been even 2 nights before. So watching them compete, and one of my close friends who's a pole vaulter from Western Australia competed, and she jumped a big PB and she ended up coming 4th. So it was a really supportive atmosphere that we would all sit down and cheer each other on and congratulate each other. So seeing other people do it kind of gave me hope that I could do it myself. And like you just said, we had our plan, we just had to carry it out, and then whatever happened was what was going to happen.
What were you thinking going into the final?
Yeah, we talked about that, like, it's just really an opportunity, what he can do, and just go for it, take it. Do your best, and you can't do anything else.
In the final itself, it was an excellent article by David Tarbottom. Unfortunately, most of us here couldn't see it live, but I think we've seen some video since. Some early stumbles at 5 and 5:10.
Yeah, I started the competition a little bit lower than what other people usually, the other people were. Just, I like to have a few confidence jumps in, and although you're capped to a certain amount of jumps, it's just kind of a safety thing that you know if you've done the first 3 jumps, you would keep progressing. So I cleared 480 on my first attempt, and the bar had been set for the next height, and I heard people in the crowd shouting at me, but I thought it was an encouraging shout, but I ended up clearing what I thought was 5 meters, but they forgot to raise the bar in a World Junior final, which was really odd to say the least. So I ended up jumping twice at 480, and then when the bar went to 5, so that was counted as a miss for 5, and they said, look, there's nothing we can do about it. So I cleared, I'm pretty sure I cleared 5 meters on my first, what was my first real attempt at 5 meters. But because that kind of threw me off a little bit, and then when the bar went up to, I think it was 5:10, or yeah, I missed my first attempt again, just with the way that everything was going. So I had quite a few early misses, and then it put me off a little bit, but there was a psychologist there that I'd spoken to just to try and get my pre-competition warm-up down pat, and she was there, and she said, do you know what, it's just another opportunity. There were some setbacks, but just enjoy yourself. So from there on, rather than thinking of what had happened, I was more looking forward to what I had to do. So I was really in my own zone. I would lie down between jumps, and when the bar got a little bit higher, I skipped odd heights to what other people were skipping, so to try and remain calm, and I probably had a 10-minute break between jumps, which is, it's not a really long time, but it could throw me off if I decided to watch all of their jumps and see how they were jumping. So it was a little bit shaky, but I ended up pulling through in the end, which is the main thing.
Just what you want halfway through the biggest competition of your life, official screw-up. From the first miss at 5:10 and then the clearance, you essentially sailed from there, nailed 5:20, 5:30 and 5:40.
Yeah, my 5:30 jump I think was my best jump in the competition, and we knew that I had to jump PB heights to be able to get anywhere close to medaling. So after I jumped to 5:20, we made the decision to go to 5:30 and then to 5:40 just because of what my clearance was over the bar. And in local competitions, we don't have the opportunity to go up by 5 centimetres as well, so I think it was a decision which was seen as quite a big deal to other people, but to us, it was what we had to do to make sure that I could hopefully jump the higher heights.
If I recall correctly, I think your PB going in was 5:25 or something in that range. To jump immediately to a new PB of 5:40 must have just been very pleasing.
Yeah, I jumped the 5:26 at another comp at Bankstown as a lead-up meet to get my pre-departure standard. So having that jump in kind of made me feel a little bit more confident, knowing that I had the height there, and if the weather was better or if I could get on a bigger pole, I'd be able to jump higher. So when I cleared 5:30, I was extremely happy, but I knew that that wasn't the end because the competition was still running. So after we made the decision to skip 5:35, which a lot of the other vaulters did jump, to clear 5:40, it was a narrow clearance, but still a clearance at that. So I was ecstatic with that, but once again, we knew that the competition was still going, and I just had to prepare myself for that next jump. So, yeah.
What did you make of it? So 5:40, which is where you eventually bowed out, missing at 5:50. 7th in the World Juniors final. Was that a sort of a best possible result going in? What did you think was the top that he could achieve?
Yeah, we were really happy of it on the day because we pretty much thought that he could jump 5:40 and that was our goal, and see which place he can make with it. But unfortunately it was the last place because in the history of World Junior Championships, I think only 2 World Junior Championships when he wouldn't medal with this result. So just these two, one, and was another one, I think that the one before. So that's 2 when he wouldn't medal with this result. So that's a bit of unlucky. But on the other hand, I think he could have jumped the 5:50 because if he hadn't this interruption at the beginning, because that made him to jump at least 2 extra jumps. Actually straight. Because you made, yeah. And we had a pole, like he jumped on the steepest pole in the end, and we had one more pole, but he had to change, but we didn't know that pole exactly because it was a different length pole, different numbering. So he should have jumped with that pole in the end, the last jump, and he ran. So because it wasn't that fresh anymore, and we didn't know exactly that pole. So that's
a few stats on the 540 jump and 7th in the World Juniors. Coming into the World Juniors, only one athlete in the world had gone higher than 540 that year. It was a new New South Wales under 20 and open pole vault record. It's the 4th highest jump in Australian junior history. It's the highest vault by any Australian for the last 5 years. It's the highest vault ever by an Australian at the World Junior Championships, where we've won a bronze medal. And it was 7th for the under 20s in the world this year. Where are you ranked in Australia at the moment?
I'm currently ranked 2nd by 1 centimetre, so an athlete from Victoria jumped 541 a couple of months prior to me jumping 540.
So you're 2nd by 1 centimetre?
Yes.
The World Championships qualifying standards came out, I think, 2 days ago. The qualifying standard, and there's no A or B at the World Championships, it's just the number, is 4.65. Sorry, 5.65. 25 centimetres away, and I think it's until April next year that you're...
There's the Australian qualifying period and there's also an international qualifying period. So I think I have until August. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's late August that I have to jump that. That includes a whole heap of domestic competition and some other international competitions.
Do you think you can jump 4.65?
It's definitely a possibility. The way that I had started training this season, I would better than what I was when I finished the same runs last year. So 25 centimetres, it doesn't seem like that much, but if I just improve a tiny bit off each run up, it is definitely doable.
Would you agree with that?
Yes, definitely he can do it because he had higher grip, already 10 centimeter higher grip than he jumped his PB on, and he can do the ab work a bit better, so it should be there.
So the hope is that next year at this dinner we'll be talking about Jack Hicking heading off to Beijing for the World Championships.
Yeah, the World Championships.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the part you didn't know about. The Junior Sport of the Year award Jack won last year. Someone will correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe this club has ever awarded the Junior Sport of the Year award to two recipients, to the same recipient 2 consecutive years. That changes tonight. Jack Hicking is the 2014 Junior Sport of the Year. Please thank Zsuzsanna and Jack Hicking.